Well, what's going on? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here is Adam Ronis, and it's that kind of a day already, people. It's literally that kind of a day already. We're going to talk some sports, but really the backstory conversation right now is apparently that Adam is available on OnlyFans. So if you want to subscribe to his feed,
I didn't open it yet.
My Lord. There we go, right? Let me get to a little bit of moment of zen there for a second here and really get going. What's up, Adam? How are you, man?
What's going on, man? Good that we can share some laughs. We need it now in these times. And, like I've said, we've been doing these to entertain people. And I think it has worked well. People have enjoyed it. So glad to be here again with you today.
Yeah, lots of ground to cover in the wonderful world of sports. It's kind of interesting now. Sports are starting back up all of a sudden. Last night was the Korean Baseball Organization, their opening day. Did you play DFS? Did you play KBO DFS last night, Adam?
No, I just don't know enough about it, and just didn't get into it. I did watch the first 2 innings of the game. It obviously was on. I think there was a rain delay, so it started a little bit later. I think on the East Coast it started around 1:45 a.m. Eastern. I've been trying to go to sleep earlier. It's not working at all. There was the other night I stayed up till 6 a.m. So they are replaying a lot of the games, though, I see in the afternoon. If it's on the TV, I'll have it on the background. It's not like there's any other live sports. Did you play DFS?
I did not play, but James Grande, who did the write-up yesterday, cashed 3 out of his 4 lineups. Had some nice pitching stacks in there. It was the Straley Despagne tandem. He was they were going up against each other, so he locked them into a lineup. There was a guy who threw a complete game shutout on 101 pitches last night. And then do you remember Byung-Ho Park?
Yeah, of course.
Who was supposed to come to the US and be better than what Hideki Matsui was. Well, he actually went yard yesterday, but man, he really sucked when he was here. Terrible.
Yeah, Aaron Altair is there too. If you remember him from the Phillies,
I
think in the first inning he flew deep to right field. So I know a lot of people are familiar with some of these names. Dixon Machado is in there too. So there's some familiar names.
Dixon Machado, I thought that was your OnlyFans name.
Not yet. I'm still working on
that. You can find him at Jack Hammer.
Now you're giving that guy more subs, bro. Don't give out that guy's name.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sure there's someone named that, right? It's got to be.
There's got to be somebody named that. Why wouldn't there be? I think Dixon Machado is actually a much better.
It's not
much better name, right? Right. Mike Honcho, was that was John C. Reilly's name in Talladega Nights?
Was that his name?
Right. Yeah, he pulled his butt apart as Mike Honcho. Yeah, see, again, people, this is what's going on now, is that there's a lot of stuff. Like Adam just hit me with a whole bunch of Louis C.K. stuff that I didn't even know was existing on the old Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video. So I'm caught into a totally different realm right now. Now it's all about online poker tournaments and watching old Louis C.K. stuff. So I'm kind of off the rails here right now. But listen, we can deal with it. I do want to talk sports. There is a lot of stuff going on. The KBO, listen, we're covering it over at Fantasy Alarm. Greg Jewett has a roundup article already up on the site today, so you can check out and see some of the names and who's doing what. He's got 2 primer articles to get you ready for it. And then James Grande had yesterday's DFS article. James Grande, I believe, is going to actually have the next one up as well. I think that's somewhere in about 15 or 16 hours from now, which is the next day for KBO. But lots of other stuff going on. MMA is coming back this week. You're an MMA guy, aren't you?
No,
you're not?
Really. No, I'm not. I've watched some of the fights, like big fights. I have a few fans who are really big into it, but I don't really go out of my way. I'll see if I'll watch it. It's Saturday, right? Usually Saturday night.
I think so. I'm not an MMA guy either.
I believe they actually are having 3 cards in the span of 10 days or something, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I remember seeing that. I'm just not into it. I'll watch it here and there. But it's not something that I'm watching every card.
Okay, well, Mike Alexander has you covered for MMA DFS over at Fantasy Alarm. Matt Sells, our producer today, is getting all sorts of excited. NASCAR starts up May 17th again in Darlington, North Carolina. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then what was the other one? I think there was another sport that was just kind of gearing up to start up. But nevertheless, what we're looking at for – what's that? Golf, yeah, maybe. That's another one. Like, I'll watch golf if I'm like feeling, really drowsy and tired. I just kind of want to like take a little nap.
Maybe that's what I should do to cure my insomnia is record some golf and then just put it on, and maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Put on the golf channel on Sirius XM. Adam Ronis lining up for the putt right now. He's looking at a 16-foot putt. It looks like it's going to break to the right on the downhill plane, and Adam is going to shoot. And and yes, it's in the hole. It's in the hole. Way to go, Adam Ronis.
That's pretty good. It seems like you have experience doing that.
I'm very soft-spoken. I'm always a soft-spoken guy.
Yeah, golf I don't really watch. Like, for me, it has to be like a Sunday, one of the big tournaments, and like, oh, I'll see it on social media, like on Twitter. Like, was it 2 years ago when Tiger Woods was winning the Masters, right? It was 2 years ago, I think, that, or whatever.
Sure.
So I saw, like, everyone was talking about it, so I tuned in. But there's no way I'm sitting there watching, like, 5 hours of golf. Lisa Ann does, and it amazes me. I'm like, really? Like, she's into that. And I'm like, I can't. Like, she'll watch it on Thursday and Friday. I can't. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I can't either.
I'm not into golfing either. I know there's a lot of people who go golf. I went to the driving range once or twice. I went to Top Golf once, embarrassed myself. I like mini golf.
Who doesn't love mini golf? Mini golf, let's face facts, and you're a single guy, so you know this also. Mini golf is like one of the best, like, if you're going to do like the first 5 dates. Yeah. Mini golf is always a great date. Absolutely. I was
actually supposed to go with the last girlfriend I had, and we wound up going, and on the way there, it started pouring. Turned around, went back, but I did do it on a cruise, which, speaking of cruises, not many people are going to do for a while. Although Carnival's offering $28 a day cruise in August. Would you go?
No.
Yeah. We do like love them or leave them on Lisa Ann, so I gave her the option. The Carnival cruise for $28 a night in August, or staring at a wall for 12 hours straight. She's like, I'll stare at a wall for 48 hours straight.
Yeah, I mean, cruise ships are just petri dishes floating on the ocean right now. I have no desire for that. My wife and I have talked about wanting to do like the Alaskan cruise, but again, I would want to do that, but I want to like explore the area. Like, I don't want to just stay on the boat.
Right. Get off, go see the area, go to another area. Have you ever gone on a cruise?
Never.
Oh, I went once 2 years ago now to Bermuda. It was cool. I'm glad I did it then, because I don't think people are going to want to do it for a while now.
No, right? Bermuda. How great is Bermuda?
Yeah. You been there?
Oh, my God. I definitely went. I've been to Bermuda multiple times. I think my parents took my brother and I to Bermuda when we were like, I think it was like, I was 14 and my brother was 16. And we ended up like becoming friends with the waiters at the hotel we stayed at the Sonesta Beach, which isn't there now, but used to be. Like, if you went to, when the cruise ship docks over there, you're over at Front Street, right there in downtown Hamilton, Bermuda. And if you like cruise out, towards Somerset, you'd go past like the Southampton Princess, and then you'd go past the Sonesta Beach Hotel, which is another one, like all the way out to Somerset over there. So we stayed out there, and I ended up like hanging and meeting all the locals. So I would go down there just to hang out with them. It wasn't even vacation time. It was, off peak, because I'd stay at the hotel. They were all working there. And when they got done working, we'd go and hang out at night. So I love Bermuda. Wow. See, this could spill off into a whole other like side session here, but we won't. Let's talk sports. Right? I keep getting distracted here, Adam. Stop distracting me. Let's talk MLB for a quick second here, because now what we're hearing as sports are coming back, hopefully, and what we've seen with the Korean baseball organization and the way they ran it with no fans and no physical contact, players weren't high-fiving each other. There was like some kicking and some elbows and stuff like that. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens with us here in the States. Now, what MLB is now talking about, I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. When they're saying, forget all these radical plans that we were throwing out there. Forget about realignment. Forget about the universal DH. Forget about all the games in Arizona. We're talking about an 80 to 100 game season, home ballparks. Like that's where you're going to do your spring training, and then your season's going to start, and that's how they're going to do it there. Do you think this is a probability? They're talking about a June spring training with like a July 1st or July 4th weekend opening day.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about whether it's going to happen. Remember, we're dealing with different states, different rules, governors. So, that's the thing. We've gone from we're going to do it in Arizona and Florida. So, all right, now we're going to do 3 divisions of 10. It keeps changing. And that's what I've said throughout this. Like, you got to wait until something is finalized. And it's great that they're coming up with different scenarios and solutions. It's just we don't have answers. I mean, we don't know when certain states are going to open up. Obviously, it's more severe in New York and New Jersey. So what happens to Mets, Yankees? California obviously has been pretty strict. I mean, they did state, what was it, a few weeks ago, no sports in 2020. I don't think that was ever made official, but that's the problem, is you're dealing with a lot of different states, different rules, who's going to open up, who's going to take time. So, it's great that, this plan they're hopeful of having it, but until anything is finalized, man, I'm still concerned.
So then what are you doing for fantasy baseball right now? Are you just in a holding pattern?
Absolutely. I have not done a draft since we did our best ball on RT Sports when it was you, Rick, Glenn, and a lot of the Fantasy Alarm crew. I haven't done a draft since. There's no point to doing it right now just because we don't know. So I'm going to wait. I know there are some people still doing drafts, but you should not be doing anything with significant money. You want to do a $10 best ball? That's great. Passes the time. You're not investing too much. It's fun. But I'm actually doing mostly fantasy football now. Best ball drafts there.
What about your baseball rankings? Obviously nothing's happening, but the longer we go towards a truncated season, the longer this kind of falls out. Are there specific adjustments that you're looking at making inside your rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be kind of minor. We also have to see what the roster composition is. Our team's going to call up these rookies. Those are things that we have to look at. Obviously, pitchers with the innings limits that we were concerned about before, not as much now. I know everyone was quick to push up all the injured players, and there was some news about Aaron Judge going for another. Like, that guy is not someone I'm pushing up my rankings, man. I mean, there's still concern with him, and even Stanton to a certain extent. Yeah, the time off buys them time, sure, but it doesn't mean like, all right, now I'm back to putting him as a top 15 outfielder. No, let someone else take that risk.
All right. So you're in a total holding pattern here for MLB, which I agree. And we've had this conversation. We had the conversation on Table That Discussion talking about whether or not to keep the drafts going. So all right, so let's move over to football. If you've been doing more best balls, more football drafts, let's start talking about the price of some of these rookies right now, because we're seeing them. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a second rounder. Jonathan Taylor's a second rounder. Cam Akers in the third round for him. I haven't seen anybody really reaching too much on a wide receiver right now. But how are you valuing this rookie 2020 class?
Yeah, we see it every year that people get infatuated with rookies, the new shiny toy syndrome, and they push them up. And we can point to the ones that have made instant impact. Obviously, there's a few, but I think this year is unique just because of the lack of OTAs and mini camps. Now these rookies, we don't know what kind of shape they're going to be in. We don't know what they're doing. They're young. There's no one there now to make sure that they're, staying in shape, learning the playbook. They get their money, and who knows? So I think with the running backs, I'm not as worried as much. Clyde Edwards-Helaire I like a lot, but obviously he's going to be pricey, as you alluded to. Even Jonathan Taylor has been pretty expensive as well, sometimes going in the second, third round. And we did hear them say that it's going to be a 1-2 combo with Taylor and Mack. But my guess is as the season evolves, you'll see kind of Taylor take that job. If they were that infatuated with Mac, they wouldn't have moved up to draft Taylor in the second round. I do think, Cam Akers is in a good spot to take over the lead role there. So I'm not as concerned with the running backs. And, I'll take a cheaper J.K. Dobbins, too, because Ingram is older, and that's a team that wants to run the football, and he's a guy that could emerge down the stretch if Ingram doesn't stay healthy. So I'll take the cheaper running backs for sure. I'm not going to overpay.
Right, and but Dobbins isn't even that cheap. Like, Dobbins is shooting up the – like, that's the funny thing that I think about Dobbins, that I see him shooting up the ADP charts right now, and people are all over him. But the question is is he leapfrogging Ingram, on the depth chart? Do we really think that – I mean, because Ingram – let's face it, Ingram has been probably one of the more underrated running backs in fantasy football for a really long time. I mean, splitting the backfield with Alvin Kamara and still being able to put up some dominant numbers. Last year, he had a couple of multi-touchdown games, which was really good. Is Dobbins a guy who's going to really push him out of the way? And then, do we look at Justice Hill and say, well, it's already a bust?
Yeah, I mean, if they believed in Justice Hill, I don't think they would have taken Dobbins. Now, again, Dobbins comes down to the price tag. If it shoots up too high, then no need to spend an early round pick on him. With Ingram, though, he turns 31 end of the year in December. And, this is a guy that has never had huge workloads. It's probably helped him stay healthy this late in his career. But he was really boosted by touchdowns last year. He had 15 total touchdowns. He only had 202 carries. They didn't overwork him. Obviously, they had some blowouts. Lamar Jackson takes away some carries as well. But I don't think you can count on Ingram scoring 15 touchdowns again if he's only going to get, 225 touches. He only had 26 receptions last year, too. So
I'm not expecting him to do that again. What I'm looking at, though, is that how much of a role is Dobbins actually going to carve out in his rookie season, knowing that Ingram's still there?
Yeah, but again, Ingram doesn't get a huge workload. I mean, he had, 228 touches last year. So I don't see them expanding that much. And we know the Ravens are going to run the football. So I think Dobbins is going to get, definitely over 100 touches for sure.
At what point would you take Dobbins in the draft? What's the earliest round that you would touch him?
Probably the 6th round, but it really comes down to what I have on my roster at that point. We know running backs fly off the board, right? I mean, You've seen it. So, if you're talking 5th, 6th round, you're taking him as the, anywhere from the 25th to 30th running back off the board. So that could be your 3rd running back.
Could be your 3rd running back,
It's kind of like Miles Sanders of last year in a way, where you were concerned about Miles Sanders early in the year, like, okay, are the Eagles going to give him the workload with Jordan Howard there? And we kind of had to wait and wait and wait. And then eventually Sanders got it. And I think he helped people win fantasy championships last year. So I could see a similar situation like that.
Okay. All right. Interesting. You're going to have to watch this. I mean, I know a ton of people who are high on him. I keep doing all of these rookie drafts with Donkey Teeth from Razzball. And he's been running these rookie drafts over and over again. We're in the middle right now of doing a Superflex 4-round rookie-only draft, and Dobbins was the first guy off the board. The first guy.
One pick. Well, but that's for Dynasty, right?
Yeah, it's Dynasty, rookie, PPR, Superflex, mock draft.
Right.
But I mean,
so it's different in the redraft leagues because people, I would not take Dobbins 1, but with the way I'm sure the person who did was saying, you know what, Ingram's going to be 31 at the end of the year. This is a run first offense with a quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who opens up running lanes. Dobbins is going to be the main guy next year is what they're looking at.
Right. But Jonathan Taylor could be the main guy this year, and he's got a much better offensive line sitting in front of him.
Right. And I would take him ahead of Dobbins.
Yeah, I would too. I got to tell you, in all honesty, if you're picking like 7th or lower in a rookie draft, it sucks, dude. It's terrible. Like, all the good running backs are already gone. Then you end up in like that mid-range of wide receiver. Like, you don't want, you can take CeeDee Lamb for the long term, but I don't like his value for this year. Jalen Rieger is another option because you already, Judy's off the board. Ruggs is usually off the board. Lamb's, close to being off the board. All the running backs, Swift, Taylor, they're all always gone. It's very interesting. Very interesting. What about the wide receiver? Well, all right, wait. Let me finish off the running backs. Keyshawn Vaughn. Let me ask you about him. Thoughts on him in Tampa?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that he could be the lead back there. So the problem with him too, he's another guy though that we're seeing go pretty early. People are excited about him because Ronald Jones obviously has been a disappointment. Pass blocking has been a problem, and with Tom Brady as quarterback, you got to be able to pass block. So I think he has better value in redraft leagues compared to dynasty leagues.
All right. Wide receiver wise, Judy in Denver is a solid landing spot for him as the number 2 to Cortland Sutton. CeeDee Lamb with your Cowboys. Ruggs in Oakland. What about some of the other guys that we're looking at? Because I got to be honest, as far as like for value this year, I'm actually looking more towards like a Michael Pittman or a Brandon Ayuk than I am really looking at Judy and Ruggs and Lamb. I think the price doesn't really match. The price to pay doesn't really match what the production is that you're going to get this year. Long term wise, yes, obviously good, but shelf life for NFL players is short enough as it is that I always look to the guys who are going to help me now.
Yeah, I don't think any of these guys are top 30 wide receivers this year in fantasy. The position is deep. We're seeing less and less number ones dominate the targets. We're seeing, so many teams throw to 3 receivers that it's kind of spreading out the depth. But I don't really think any of these rookies are top 30 this year. I think Justin Jefferson's in a good spot. Stephon Diggs is gone. I think he had 94 targets last year. And we know Minnesota's not going to throw the ball a lot. They're still a run-oriented team. But there's not much competition for Jefferson there. So he's in a good spot. I still think, CeeDee Lamb could still be good. Remember, Cobb had 83 targets. He's gone. He had over 800 receiving yards. Jason Witten's gone. So there's a lot of targets to open up. So, yeah, it's not the ideal landing spot. You would have preferred him somewhere else. But I think he could still be a wide receiver 4 this year, and I certainly would take him in Dynasty. I think Judy's okay. Again, not the ideal landing spot, but Sutton's going to command a lot of attention on the other side, and Noah Fant's there. So Judy just gets open. So I think he's okay. Pittman is in a good spot because he's going to start on the outside. Hilton on the other side. We know Hilton's older, had some injuries last year. So, Pittman could be okay. But again, I don't see any of these guys really being consistent, and especially with the lack of OTAs, minicamp, training camp potentially being pushed back or shortened, you really need these rookie receivers to develop a rapport with their quarterback. And we did see last year a few really excel. Terry McLaurin was excellent. DK Metcalf was good, especially in the second half. But a lot of them disappointed, man. So just got to keep that in mind. It's just tougher for these receivers, and I think people are aware of it. You're not seeing any of these guys being drafted in the top 30 from what I've seen.
No, not at all, actually, which, is obviously refreshing to see that. The running backs are definitely getting more of the love. The receivers are getting some, but I mean, yeah, I think you're looking at, I think I've seen Judy and Lamb go somewhere in like between 6th and 7th round is kind of where they're at. And by the time I'm picking in the 6th or 7th round, I probably have 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers already. So, I don't mind making that move for a guy like Judy or Ayuk or somebody like that at that point. But again, like you said, it's the price tag that really, it's amazing, right? It's just so amazing when you start looking at like ADP and you start looking at public perception and how these guys are just shooting up the boards. It's crazy.
It's what's really, and I've always said this, and it's so true. The platform you play on is so important. It really dictates where players go. Like I haven't played on it yet, but I've seen some of the Yahoo Best Ball. Oh my goodness, man. If you're a sharp player, you can exploit there. The ADPs are so different depending on the site you play on. RT Sports, it's a lot different than everywhere else. So you really have to get familiar with the platform. I saw it in baseball too, like doing the NFBC, and then we did that RT Sports Best Ball. There were players that if I was on the other platform, I would have to take in the 5th, 6th round, that I was able to get in the 10th there just because I saw where they were in the queue. And I'm like, okay, now I don't know what my competition thinks. That's the issue you run into. There could be someone who has the same mentality or played on that platform and feels the same as me, and then they take that player early. But you do have to look at the platform because it's amazing how people look at that queue, see where players are ranked, and they draft accordingly to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. I was doing some of these drafts on Fantrax, and all of the rookies they're like hidden. They're like 4,000 players deep, hidden kind of thing. And if you're
I prefer that. I don't want people to get influence what's in front of them, because if they see the rookies high, they're going to be like, oh, well, okay, they're there high. All right, yeah, I'll take them. And then, like you said, if they're buried, they're not even thinking about it, which is why you never go by the queue.
Right.
When I've always said this, what I like to do is I like to print out my rankings and cross names off, because I don't want to be in a draft and a player that I don't see in the queue or forgot they're buried gets drafted and I go, oh my God, I forgot he was there. I don't want that. That's the worst feeling in the world. Ever happened.
It really is.
That's why. And look, everyone has something different. People use software. I've never been a software guy. I just like printing out my rankings and then just crossing off names as they're taken. And then I just look and say, okay, who's the highest guy left? And I don't even always draft according to my rankings as well, as crazy as that sounds. You know this. Like you could have receivers. Like this year, to me, receivers, it's insane. When you try and rank receiver 12 to like 28, there's not a huge difference at all. So I might, in one draft, go, you know what? I'm going to take the guy I have 17th instead of the guy at 15, because maybe the guy I have at 15 I already have in 2 or 3 leagues, and I don't have the one at 17 yet. And there's really not a huge difference between many of them. So, but yeah, just find something that's comfortable for you, but just don't go based on the queue and what's in front of you, because you're going to miss players. Because as you mentioned, there's some players that are absolutely buried. And I kind of like that, because then it's not there for people who are not doing the work. It's not there in front of them. And I'll know that they're available and buried at the end of the queue. And anytime I'm using a platform that I haven't used yet, you really have to go and look and do searches on players if you don't see them, to see where they are.
Right. Or you could just tell the commissioner that you can't find a guy in the system, and you ask the commissioner what to do. And then the commissioner tells you to put a placeholder in there. And then, of course, somebody doesn't pay attention to the placeholder, and then they actually find the guy in the system and they draft him.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
We've all been down there. Wait, so you just gave me like a whole bunch to kind of unpack here right now, because there are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. First of all, first and foremost, now all of a sudden the second point is eluding me here, but the first point that you were making, that I was like making sure, I'm like, remember this. Diversifying your roster, like you're from league to league. Is that something like, is that a common thing for you? Or, because I've always been of the mindset that I want to, if I believe a guy's going to help me win in one league, then I believe that this guy's going to, for any league, same system, same scoring format, whatever, I'm going to get him everywhere. And, Jim Bowden and I had a huge debate, because he likes to diversify and, kind of mix it up so that if you get hit with an injury, you don't, lose it in every single league. And my feeling is, well, if you do get an injury, then that you just blanket all your leagues and you start doing the same stuff, to make it easier for yourself. Are you really a diversify your roster type guy, or more of a, if this guy's going to help me win here, I want more shares of him?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good argument. I think it depends on how many leagues you play in. And, I'll tend, covering best ball and redraft, for me, it's anywhere from 15 to 25 leagues usually for football. So
right.
I'm trying to think from last year. Like, I was huge on Chris Godwin. I tried to get him in as many leagues as possible. Obviously, that worked out. There must have been someone that I took that didn't work out, though, that I had in a lot of leagues. I'm trying to remember who that was. I forget. It's so long.
Was it Le'Veon Bell?
No, I didn't have any Le'Veon Bell shares last year.
And I'm not going to have any this year now that freaking Frank Gore is
He's not a threat.
with the Jet. Are you kidding me? With Adam Gase?
Well, it's Gase, but Frank Gore is just so ineffective right now. I mean, Matt props him. What?
He's short yardage, goal line back.
He's not even that good. I mean, he's been under, 4 yards a carry now 3 straight years. He's 37 years old. You know his son's about to start playing college football?
Really? I did not know that.
And I think they said Le'Veon Bell was in 8th grade when Frank Gore was a rookie. It's insane. Look, if I really believe in a player, I'm going to take him in as many leagues as possible. I'm just saying, like, maybe the 5th round, and there's a receiver that you've taken in 4 drafts already, and maybe there's someone else you like that you haven't taken yet, I might pivot to him. But I agree. If you strongly believe in a player, that you should invest in them heavily, especially in what we do, whether we write about them or talk about them. And that's one thing I've kind of always prided myself on. If you see me write about someone or talk about a player, they're probably going to be on my roster. I've always said, though, there's always a player every year that I talk up, and for some reason, it's where you are in the draft. I can't get them. Like, so last year in the preseason, where I previously worked, we did these different things, and one of them, we had to have our comeback player of the year. For me, was Allen Robinson. I only had Allen Robinson in 1 league, and I loved the guy. It just didn't work out. It was in a pretty important league, a decent dollar amount, and I had him, and I got to the finals. I lost in the finals, but I wrote about it. I just did not get Allen Robinson in enough leagues last year. So, yeah, I mean, if you have a player you truly believe in, sure, you want to try and get him in as many leagues. I'm trying to remember the player that I had the most last year, and it might have been Godwin, maybe Lockett. Running backs were spread out. I know I had Fournette in 1 league. I had McCaffrey in 2 or 3, Barkley in 2, Cook in 1, Henry in 1. I guess it was a product of where I was drafted, where it was all over. Miles Sanders in 2, Eckler in 1. So my running backs were kind of spread out last year. And I think that was dictated by where you drafted.
Yeah, it definitely was. I had tons of shares of Dalvin Cook. I was so in on Dalvin Cook last year. And I mean, to the point where in 1 league, I had the 5th overall pick, and I was like, I'm going to take Dalvin Cook here.
See, yeah, and that's bold, and it worked out for you. So I would not have taken him at 5.
Oh, it was great. Oh, and all the rock stars in the league too. They were all like, it was the Jam On Fantasy Football League that I do. With SiriusXM's Jam On people. So that all of a sudden, that was the move.
Who did you pass on then? I'm trying to remember. So last year was McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara.
And Zeke.
Right. And at 5, then could have been a
Thomas
receiver, or trying to think. David Johnson did not go that high. He was like 7, 8. Who else was in the 5 range last year?
I don't even remember.
I can't remember.
Right, it seems so long ago, doesn't it?
Right?
It really does. Let me just kind of skim through some running back rankings here. There's all the rankings up on FantasyAlarm.com. If you guys don't have that NFL package, you're missing out. Oh, here's the one thing I hate about rankings, dude, is that you do rankings and it's never enough. I got PPR, I got standard, I got rookies, I got dynasty, I got Superflex dynasty, I got an overall top 200, I've got IDP in there, and what do I hear? What about regular Superflex redraft?
Oh, geez, man. Come on, man. It's really not that different. You just have to decide where to put the quarterbacks. The Superflex for me is kind of dictated based on what goes on in the draft room. And we know in the average home league, the quarterback's going to fly off the board in the Superflex league. And now I played in the Superflex league in the industry for the flex leagues the last 3 years. I've waited on quarterbacks. Like last year, my first 4 picks, I did not take a quarterback. I waited till round 5. Now, the quarterbacks that I wound up with were Cousins and Trubisky. And you're probably like, oh my God, your team sucked. No, I made the finals. I was the number 1 seed.
Cousins had a great year last year.
He was okay. He was inconsistent.
For drafting your first quarterback in the 5th round of a Superflex league, Cousins had a great year for you.
Yeah, but you know how I started my team? It was Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones. No. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, George Kittle, Chris Godwin. Those were my first 4 picks.
It's rock solid.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, there's a chance you miss on those picks, but if you hit on them, you don't need the elite quarterback play. And I made a huge mistake picking up Ryan Tannehill when the week he was named starter, and I dropped him before he even started that weekend. I have no idea why. If I didn't, I'd probably win the league because my opponent had Tannehill in the championship.
I was riding Tannehill like a pony last year on that. You know what? It's so funny that you bring this up because I'm in the middle of a Superflex Dynasty draft right now, and I was picking on the wheel. And when you're sitting on the wheel, you've got that whole decision. Well, if I don't take a QB here, and it goes all the way back to second and third round, knowing that, so Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, all off the board. And so I was like, do I take Deshaun Watson? Do I not take Deshaun Watson and run the risk? And I got to tell you, I took Deshaun Watson, and I feel like it was a mistake. Like I could have gone with like, I took Mixon as my number 1 pick at 12. And I could have gone, Josh Jacobs, Edwards-Helaire, Taylor, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. They're all available. And I take Deshaun Watson. And then after I take Deshaun Watson, someone takes Russell Wilson. And then it goes all the way down and all the way back until somebody takes Josh Allen. And then somebody took Joe Burrow. And I was like, man, what I could have done, what I could have had would have been so much better doing like Joe Mixon, one of those other guys. And then even just taking a wide receiver in the 3rd round. And with my 4th pick, took a quarterback. I still would have had, Matt Ryan, Drew Lock, Stafford, Rodgers, Daniel Jones. So, yeah, the whole waiting on a quarterback in a super flex league, I'm fine with that. I really am. And I feel like I made a mistake in this draft already, taking Deshaun Watson. Bums me out.
Yeah, it's always tough on the end. You got to make that decision because there's going to be a run. And it did happen. And that's the unfortunate part. Sometimes you look back and go, man, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done it this way. But, yeah, in the super flex leagues, people go crazy for the quarterbacks. And it kind of puts you in a position. Do you force it and take the player where they're not value? Or do you just stay patient? And a lot of people can't. They panic. Oh, there's no quarterbacks left. I can't win with these, 2 quarterbacks that are outside the top 15. You can. You really can because a lot of it comes down to matchups for the quarterbacks in the playoffs. And we'll see it. There's some elite quarterbacks that you take early. They may get a tough matchup in the playoffs and give you a mediocre performance.
Yeah, I wish I had a do-over here. It's
all right.
We'll figure I'll do.
You join another league.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 20 more. We do 20 more of these drafts anyway, but it's very interesting to note. All right. Well, before we get on out of here, let's talk about one of these. We talked about when I sent out some topic lists to you. I asked you, what things that you have a possible hankering for. You wanted to bring up The Last Dance. I haven't seen it yet, but you're listen. So far, you're 2 for 2 on recommendations. I've got Impractical Jokers and Lucky Louie, and I'm feeling pretty good about all of that. My wife, by the way, thanks you for Lucky Louie. Also, she's having a blast.
Amazing show. I remember at the time. Because I didn't realize how long ago the show is. You know how it is. You get older and you forget. Like, Sopranos started in 99. I'm like, oh, my goodness, man. But Lucky Louie was a phenomenal show. And I am so disgusted that they canceled it after 1 season. It is a little vulgar, but it's HBO, man. But that would never fly in today's society.
No, not at all.
That wouldn't even get to it wouldn't get nowhere.
The mere fact that there's a kid
right.
in there.
Right. I guess that's what maybe really pissed people off, right? I guess is the kid being involved. If there was no kid, but either way, I thought it was a great show.
I agree. So you're 2 for 2 on show recommendations, and now you're telling me, even as a non-basketball fan, that I should be watching The Last Dance.
Yeah, definitely. I think even non-basketball fans would enjoy this. I mean, obviously Michael Jordan is very popular. I'm not even a Michael Jordan fan myself, but this was a documentary that was supposed to drop in June, I believe, after the NBA Finals. They pushed it up. And, Michael Jordan was in a different era. There was no social media like it is today, and allowed them to film him that final season. And it's been excellent. You see insights into Phil Jackson, episodes 3 and 4. One of them was a lot about Dennis Rodman and the craziness that he brought to that team. But yeah, it's great insight. It flies by. And I think a lot of people were at first like 10 episodes. They're going to overdo this. And we've seen 6, and I feel I could watch 20 of it. That's how good it's been. And it takes you back to those days. You see all the little things with Jordan. Obviously, the last episode, a lot of his gambling. He received a lot of criticism for being in Atlantic City after Game 2. Knicks Bulls, believe in '93. He went there with his dad, and then he didn't talk to the media for the rest of the series. And then, obviously, Bulls went on to beat the Knicks, win another championship. But, yeah, it's just really good insight. Some stuff that we didn't know, some stuff we knew. They went into the Olympics when Tony Kukoc had no idea, but Jordan and Pippen were so upset and wanted to destroy him because Jerry Krause wanted to pay Tony Kukoc before Pippen, and they made it a point, we're not letting this guy do anything. So the first time USA faced Croatia in that Olympics, Kukoc just got shut down. He played better in the final. And then they show footage of Kukoc just like, yeah, I didn't do nothing, man. I had no idea. Everywhere I went, there was a defender in my face. So it's just been really good, man. It's, right now there's not much appointment television. A lot of shows that I watched recently ended, like Homeland and Better Call Saul. Billions is back, so that's one. But Sunday night right now with Michael Jordan, this Last Dance documentary, appointment television, only 2 weeks left, 4 episodes. They show 2 episodes every Sunday night.
All right. I can do that. I can probably throw that out. I've been playing a lot of online poker tournaments on Sunday nights, so that could be good background stuff.
You can watch it anytime. It's on demand.
Sure. No, I know what you're saying. I'm with you. And then final thoughts here. Did you want to say something about slow draft etiquette? Because let's face it, dude, slow drafts, what a disaster.
I know you hate them, but so I signed up for one a couple weeks ago, and
what site?
Best Ball 10s.
Okay, I'm on that. Yeah, 4-hour clock.
No, I wanted a 4-hour clock, but when I went, they only had 1 out of 12. So I'm like, I know they fill up relatively quick, and I probably should have just did it. It would have probably filled up by the end of the night. But there was one that needed 2 people left, 8-hour clock. I said, all right, fine, I'll do it. Do you know how many people are intentionally taking the whole 8 hours and draining it down? And okay, during the NFL draft, no problem with that. You want to see where players go? Fine. Why are we doing it now? There's nothing going on. There's no, come on, man. And several people have timed out. There's been at least 7, 8 timeouts. And again, I have no problem. I understand, and I've said this, when you go in a slow draft, that's part of it. But the 8-hour clock was not designed for you to intentionally drain it. It's in case, you're at work or whatever, something goes on, you're away from your phone. There's certain jobs, I'm sure you can't be around a computer or phone. Not many, but there are some. You have an issue, an emergency. Fine, I get it. But there are people who are intentionally taking the entire clock. So that's what I have a problem with. The clock is not designed for you to take the whole thing. Even if it's May. It's May now. This draft started in April. It feels like it started in February. But, the clock is not designed for you to take up the whole time.
It is. It's mind-numbing to me. It really is. I mean, I'm in a slow draft with an 8-hour clock, and what gets me on numerous occasions are the people who drain the clock, and then they're like, oh well, I was busy. I was dealing with family. I was dealing with work. I was dealing with this. I was dealing with that, and then they start yelling at people because they've made their pick, and now the people who are after them aren't like hustling up and making their picks. It's like, really?
It's like so ironic, right? Like,
it is absolutely brutal.
We know people check their emails now, right? I mean, and I think you can even sign up on some of these to get text messages.
It's a smartphone. Every single one of these sites has a billion different notifications that if you just leave it, you don't turn off your notifications, you don't change your settings at all. Like you get a billion notifications. I get stuff in was it Best Ball 10s where like when the round ends, I get a notification. Right. When the round begins, I get a notification. When it's I'm on deck, I get a notification. When it's my pick, I get a notification. The Sleeper app throws notifications for anything. Oh, a league mate of yours just took a dump the other day, and it was brown. Like, I got a notification that said that.
Yeah, we don't need that, but hey, the details help, right?
Yeah, the details do help. Absolutely. I like to know who's drafted from the crapper and who's not drafted from the crapper. All right, that's going to do it. I just realized how long we've been going on here. Oh, man, it's like two schoolgirls like talking on the phone all the time. Hey, Adam, what's up? So we'll get out of here. We'll thank Matt Sells. We'll apologize for not giving him enough turnaround time for the next live stream / video recording. For Adam Ronis, I'm Howard Bender of the Fantasy Alarm. We'll catch you next time.